Sheep, and the Lord is my shepherd, watching over my soul to keep guarding over me ever, watching wherever I go. And when the winds blow, He is my shelter, and when I'm lost and alone, He rescues me. And when the lion comes, He is my victory, constantly watching over me. He is constantly watching over me.
Week 21 of 52. A Journey Through the Bible, Day 141 of 365, Saturday, May the 21st, 2022. Today's reading, 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1 and 37, 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verses 1 and 2, 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 11 through 13, and chapter 6, verse 2, 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 3, 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 7 and 9, 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verses 5 through 7, 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 3, 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 4, 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 4 through 8, 10, and 16 through 22, 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verses 8 and 9, 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 23 through 28, 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verses 10 through 14, 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 15 and 29 through 35 and verse 14. Now we enter the 7-year period during which Solomon's temple was built. The actual construction is described in the readings for today.
1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1. In the 480th year after the people of Israel came out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of King Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, which is the 2nd month, he began to build the house of the Lord. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 37. In the 4th year, the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid in the month of Ziv. 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verses 1 through 2. Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where the Lord had appeared to David his father, at the place that David had appointed, on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. He began to build in the 2nd month of the 4th year of his reign. 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 11 through 13. Now the word of the Lord came to Solomon, concerning this house that you are building, if you will walk in my statutes, and obey my rules, and keep all my commandments, and walk in them, then I will establish my word with you, which I spoke to David your father. And I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will not forsake my people Israel. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 2. The house that King Solomon built for the Lord was 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 3. These are Solomon's measurements for building the house of God. The length in cubits of the old standard was 60 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 7. When the house was built, it was with stone prepared at the quarry, so that neither hammer, nor axe, nor any tool of iron was heard in the house while it was being built. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 9. So he built the house and finished it. He made the ceiling of the house of beams and planks of cedar. 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verses 5 through 7. The nave he lined with cypress and covered it with fine gold and made palms and chains on it. He adorned the house with settings of precious stones. The gold was gold of Parvaim. So he lined the house with gold, its beams, its thresholds, its walls, and its doors. And he called cherubim on the walls. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 3. The vestibule in front of the nave of the house was 20 cubits long, equal to the width of the house, and 10 cubits deep in front of the house. 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 4. The vestibule in front of the nave of the house was 20 cubits long, equal to the width of the house, and its height was 120 cubits. He overlaid it on the inside with pure gold. 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 4 through 8. And he made for the house windows with recessed frames. He also built a structure against the wall of the house, running around the walls of the house, both the nave and the inner sanctuary. And he made side chambers all around. The lowest story was 5 cubits broad, the middle one was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For around the outside of the house he made offsets on the wall in order that the supporting beams should not be inserted into the walls of the house. When the house was built, it was with stone prepared at the quarry, so that neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron was heard in the house while it was being built. The entrance for the lowest story was on the south side of the house, and one went up by the stairs to the middle story, and from the middle story to the third. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 10. He built the structure against the whole house, 5 cubits high, and it was joined to the house with timbers of cedar. 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 16 through 22. He built 20 cubits of the rear of the house with boards of cedar, from the floor to the walls. And he built this within as an inner sanctuary as the most holy place. The house, that is, the nave in front of the inner sanctuary, was 40 cubits long. The cedar within the house was carved in the form of gourds and open flowers. All was cedar, no stone was seen. The inner sanctuary he prepared in the innermost part of the house, to set there the ark of the covenant of the Lord. The inner sanctuary was 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 20 cubits high. And he overlaid it with pure gold. He also overlaid an altar of cedar. And Solomon overlaid the inside of the house with pure gold, and he drew chains of gold across in front of the inner sanctuary, and overlaid it with gold. And he overlaid the whole house with gold, until all the house was finished. Also the whole altar that belonged to the inner sanctuary he overlaid with gold. 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verses 8 through 9. And he made the most holy place, its length corresponding to the breadth of the house was 20 cubits, and its breadth was 20 cubits. He overlaid it with 600 talents of fine gold. The weight of gold for the nails was 50 shekels. And he overlaid the upper chambers with gold. 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 23 through 28. In the inner sanctuary he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. 5 cubits was the length of one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits the length of the other wing of the cherub. It was 10 cubits from the tip of one wing to the tip of the other. The other cherub also measured 10 cubits. Both cherub had the same measure and from the same form. The height of one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was that of the other cherub. He put the cherubim in the innermost part of the house, and the wings of the cherubim were spread out, so that a wing of one touched the one wall, and a wing of the other cherub touched the other wall. Their other wings touched each other in the middle of the house, and he overlaid the cherubim with gold. 2 Chronicles chapter 3, verses 10 through 14. In the most holy place he made 2 cherubim of wood and overlaid them with gold. The wings of the cherubim together extended 20 cubits. One wing of the one of 5 cubits touched the wall of the house, and its other wing of 5 cubits touched the wing of the other cherub. And of this cherub, one wing of 5 cubits touched the wall of the house. And the other wing also of 5 cubits was joined to the wing of the first cherub. The wings of these cherubim extended 20 cubits. The cherubim stood on their feet, facing the nave. And he made the veil of blue and purple and crimson fabrics and fine linen. And he worked cherubim on it. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 15. He lined the walls of the house on the inside with boards of cedar. From the floor of the house to the walls of the ceiling, he covered them on the inside with wood. And he covered the floor of the house with boards of cypress. 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 29 through 35. Around all the walls of the house he carved engraved figures of cherubim and palm trees and open flowers. In the inner and outer rooms, the floor of the house he overlaid with gold in the inner and outer rooms. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary he made doors of olive wood. The lintel and the doorpost were 5-sided. He covered the 2 doors of olive wood with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. He overlaid them with gold and spread gold on the cherubim and on the palm trees. So also he made for the entrance to the nave doorpost of olive wood, in the form of a square, and 2 doors of cypress wood. The 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. On them he carved cherubim and palm trees and open flowers, and he overlaid them with gold evenly applied on the carved wood work. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 14. So Solomon built the house and finished it.
We are his children, and he is our Father, watching over our soul. Great is his love for his sons and his daughters, watching